Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Can We Talk About It podcast. This video is exactly why I named my podcast Can We Talk About It? Like, are we actually allowed to talk about the truth? Can we actually talk about the fact that Kanye West just wrote an open letter to Philadelphia apologizing for his anti Semitic statements? What I want to do is read this letter. But first, I want to share with you guys that it is alleged that Kanye does have an album coming out. And I suspect what happened is that those people said, hey, if you want to release this album and make money, you will apologize. You will blame this on your mental illness, and then you can have your money back. I firmly believe that. We know now um, celebrity after celebrity has told us that this is how the industry works. I don't believe for a second that Kanye West is anti-Semitic or racist. What I think he meant to say is the people who are running the music industry are part of a certain ethno group, and that ethno group is controlling me. So let's read this together. To those I've hurt. 25 years ago, I was in a car accident that broke my jaw and caused injury to the right frontal lobe of my brain. At the time, the focus was on the visible damage, the fracture, the swelling, and the immediate physical trauma. The deeper injury, the one inside my skull, went unnoticed. Comprehensive scans were not done. Neurological exams were limited, and the possibility of a frontal lobe injury was never raised. Okay, hold on. Kanye didn't write this. Sounds like Henry, his trainer, wrote it. It wasn't properly diagnosed until 2023. Wait a minute. Didn't Kanye West in the past say that he's been like this since he was a kid? That medical oversight caused serious damage to my mental health and led to my bipolar type 1 diagnosis. Bipolar disorder comes with its own defense mechanism, denial. When you're manic, you don't think you're sick. You think everyone else is overreacting. You feel like you're seeing the world more clearly than ever, when in reality, you're losing your grip entirely. Do you see how they're setting him up to sound crazy? Now, I don't doubt that Kanye West, to some degree, because I think all geniuses, musical, intellectual or otherwise, I think all geniuses have a little bit of crazy. But they are setting it up so that Kanye West is crazy. He's crazy. He's crazy. The only thing that he's good for is his music. Once people label you as crazy, you feel as if you cannot contribute anything meaningful to the world. It's easy for people to joke and laugh it off when in fact it is a very serious, debilitating disease you can die from. According to the World Health Organization and Cambridge University, people with bipolar disorder have a life expectancy that is shortened by 10 to 15 years on average, and a 2 to 3 times higher all-cause mortality rate than the general population. This is on par with severe heart disease, type 1 diabetes, HIV, and cancer, all lethal and fatal if left untreated. Again, they are setting him up to call himself crazy so that anytime he does anything, go, oh, it's the bipolar. And you can see that they started to do this. And I think one thing, I don't doubt that Kanye West has some level of mental illness. I've never doubted that. I think a lot of industry people have forms of narcissism, autism, bipolar, depression, PTSD. I think there's a lot of that. I think there's a lot of mental illness in the music industry for various reasons. But I don't think that was why he said the things that he said. I think he said the things that he said because they were true. The scariest thing about the disorder is how persuasive it is when it tells you you don't need help. It makes you blind, but convinced that you have insight. You feel powerful, certain, unstoppable. I lost touch with reality. Things got worse the longer I ignored the problem. I said and did things I deeply regret. Some of the people I love the most, I treated the worst. You endured fear, confusion, humiliation, and the exhaustion of trying to have someone who was at times unrecognizable. Looking back, I became detached from my true self. By the way, you guys, I follow a couple people here on YouTube who have bipolar as well, and they have since come off their medications because it makes them worse. Um, you can control people who are on medication. This is not a call for you to not be on medication. I think whatever you need to do, whatever you need to do, but this sudden diagnosis of, do you guys ever notice how many celebrities have bipolar now? Like this sudden diagnosis of they're crazy, like they were calling Britney Spears bipolar, Amanda Bynes, Kanye West, obviously. So you start to wonder, why are all these people bipolar? What's going on? It can't just be that they were born this way. Perhaps is this induced psychosis? In that fractured state, I gravitated towards the most destructive symbol I could find, the swastika, and even sold t shirts bearing it. One of the difficult aspects of having bipolar type 1 are the disconnected moments. Let me just turn off my do not disturb. um, Many of which I still cannot recall. That led to poor judgment and reckless behavior that oftentimes feels like an out of body experience. I regret and am deeply mortified by my actions in that state and am committed to accountability, treatment, and meaningful change. It does not excuse what I did, though. I am not a Nazi or an anti Semite. I love Jewish people. To the Black community, which held me down through all the highs and lows and the darkest of times, the Black community is unquestionably the foundation of who I am. I'm sorry to have let you down. I love us. In early 2025, I fell into a 4-month long manic episode of psychotic, paranoid, and impulsive behavior that destroyed my life. As the situation became increasingly unsustainable, there were times I didn't want to be here anymore. Having bipolar disorder is a notable state of constant mental illness. When you go into a manic episode, you are ill at that point. When you're not in a manic episode, you're completely normal. And that's the wreckage from the illness that hits the hardest. Hitting rock bottom a few months ago, my wife encouraged me to finally get help. Your wife? I thought he was divorced from what's her name? I have found comfort in Reddit forums of all places, different people speaking of being manic or depressive episodes of similar nature. I read their stories and realized that I was not alone. It's not just me who ruins their entire life once a year, despite taking meds every day and being told by the so called best doctors in the world that I am not bipolar, but mirroring experiencing symptoms of autism. It could be two things at once. Like, I firmly believe that. Um, in my mania, I lost complete sight of that. As I find a new baseline and new center through an effective regime of medication therapy, exercise, and clean living, I have newfound much needed clarity. I am pouring my energy into positive, meaningful art, music, clothing, design, and other ideas to help the world. I'm not asking for sympathy or a free pass, though I aspire to earn your forgiveness. I write today to simply ask your patience and understanding as I find my way home with love. Yay. Number one, it's very obvious to me that he did not write this. Whoever his handler is wrote this letter. Again, I don't doubt that Kanye West is a little bit ill, but what I know for sure is that he was really insistent on um, doing things on his own terms. And I think in a lot of ways, as he stated in this letter, that the way that he actually supports his mental health, the way that he actually diffuses some of the mental and emotional turmoil that he's in is by actually creating. And when you're banned from every studio, and no matter how much money he has, right? People see you as crazy because in Hollywood, you are banned. If people don't like you, you are banned from the greatest parties. You're banned from, communicating with people. People don't want to be seen with you. He lost his community. And that's what Candace Owens was talking about when she said, this is what they do. They try, and this is the tactic that they used on her as well when they decided to fire her from the Daily Wire. They also wanted to take away her community and make her feel alone, and that nobody supported her. And fortunately, unlike Kanye West, Candace Owens didn't go into some, I think Candace Owens has a different fan base because she did wear the Nazi shirt as well with Kanye West. But unfortunately for Kanye, his whole world is celebrity. Like, he doesn't even have his children really. And so I think he found himself being like, okay, I have to make money. I have to do what I love again. And if that means that I have to apologize and do the thing, do the pomp and circumstance of like apologizing, writing a letter, being super penitent, paying my penance to the rabbis or whatever, he's willing to do it. And yeah, he did. Yeah. He wore a shirt with the swastika on it. That was in response to, I can't remember what it was, but it was in response to something. It was one of those things where, for me at least, it was irony. It was just, oh, I can do this. Like I can do this because I'm Black, kind of thing. I didn't take it as he was an actual, you know. So, and here's the thing too, because I'm an American. So when Americans see the swastika, they think white versus Black, right? But if you're from a different country and you see the swastika, you think of white Jews versus Nazis. And so people thought that he was trying to say something against the Jews. That shirt that he was wearing was actually to talk about the relationship between Black and white people in the United States. But if you're a ethno-narcissist, then you think that everything is about you. And it wasn't about that, actually wasn't about the Jews, but people did get upset because he wore the symbol. And I think it was just another way to I think it was another way to throw a dagger at him to say that he's crazy. Now, do I think it was a wise decision to wear a shirt with a swastika on it? No, that was a stupid move. But it wasn't about what everybody was trying to make it about, i.e., the Ben Shapiro's, the Daily Wires, those people. It wasn't about that. It was actually about the relationship between Black and white people in the United States. Because it was at the time when we were talking about like Black Lives Matter versus White Lives Matter. And so he was wearing that. Anyway, to make a point that like freedom of speech, I can say what I want. And unfortunately that backfired on him. So here we have this letter where Kanye West is paying his penance to the group of people who run the music industry. And we know this. This is not a trope. This is not a, stereotype. It's a fact, right? The people who are, in charge of the music labels, in charge of the studios, deciding who's going to what events and what parties. We all know this. And so it looks like we're going to see Kanye back in the mainstream again. I want us to notice how they treat him when he comes back now that he has done the infamous apology. Do you guys remember when Jamie Foxx made his apology for saying a phrase that Black people say all the time? We always say like, and we say it, by the way, and like, this is why I can't stand, like, I can't do all this weird anti-Semitism talk. So in the Black community, a common phrase is they betrayed Jesus. So like, what makes you think they won't betray you? Right. And they is referring to people who you actually think are close friends. So we say that all the time. And it basically means like you could be doing everything right and people are still bad friends. That statement has nothing to do with Jewish people. But what's that man's name? Who's that? I just forgot his name. Jamie Foxx said that, and he was told he had to pay penance and go see a rabbi. Same thing with Nick Cannon, right? Because Nick Cannon was supporting the Minister Farrakhan, right? So this is something that we're watching again, patterns, like get that pattern recognition down. I talked earlier about in my live stream, like watching patterns, how people behave, what's expected of people. Notice how that you do something people don't like, they ban you, they malign you, they take you out of the media, they strip you of all your dignity and your money, and then when you say the right words, they go, okay, you're welcome back into the fold, and just like that, boom, they love you again. And that's what happened to Jamie Foxx. That's what's happened to Kanye West. That's what happened to Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon was told if he didn't apologize, he would lose all of his money and all of his funding. So this is a pattern. This is part of the great awakening that has to happen, is that we have to see how the world really runs. So as for me, it'll be interesting to see what the next coming months look like for Kanye West. I did enjoy his music, especially his early music, but I want to know how his relationship with his kids will progress now. Um, how the media will treat him and if he will be accepted as one of the regulars. All right, you guys, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like it on your way out, and I will see you guys in the next one.